Morning, glory, evening, grace, brother, and sister. Let's have everybody back along with us here with our Temperance Awakening. And now we're looking at our vaping lecture number 19, which is day 12 of our quit. And today we're going to be looking at monitor your messaging. Monitor your messaging. And we all have a running commentary in our heads. You know, everybody does. Different for just about everybody, but we all have that running commentary, though, that just goes through our heads. And it's that internal voice that helps us process new information, make decisions, and formulate plans. See, that's very important. Like when a person is trying to quit vaping, we need to make those decisions and formulate plans. So we can take a moment and think about how your inner voice sounds. You know, is it kind, loving, and supportive, or does it like to beat you up and drag you down? And the way you speak to yourself, your self-messaging, determines how successful you're going to be at achieving your goals. So, what are you telling yourself about yourself? You know, like, do you believe in yourself? Like, we've all heard that, you know, just about all our lives, you know, since we were kids. You know, what does your inner voice think of you? And seeing like our self-messaging forms us, you know, who we are and, you know, how we see ourselves. And if you're constantly telling yourself that you're a failure, then, you know, your inner dialogue is ensuring you that you're not going to quit vaping. You know, you're not going to quit it. And self-messaging both carves and follows some pretty deep grooves in our brains. You know, you probably barely notice it on a conscious level. So, you know, start paying attention to that and say, hey, you know, what do I really think of my own self? You know, take the time to listen carefully to what you're saying to yourself. And, you know, meditation and just self-reflection, you know, that's certainly a great way to tune out distractions and just focus on that inner dialogue. You know, if your self-messaging sounds like a bitter critic, then give it a name and identify that you can dismiss it easily. Oh, that's just X piping up again because Y. You know, that's just that bitter critic in me piping up again because it don't think that I can quit vaping because I crave it or, you know, whatever the situation might be. And like, what advice would you give to a friend in the same situation? You know, give that advice to yourself. You know, we think very highly of our friends. And if a friend came to you and said, you know, I just got that inner voice in me, you know, that's just a bitter critic, you know, telling me I can't, that I'm a failure, you know, how would you encourage that friend? You know, we need to do that, you know, to ourselves as well. And also, you know, concentrate on past accomplishments and successes. You know, everybody has those. You might not think you do, especially if you've got that bitter critic inside of you, but say, hey, I've accomplished this, and I've succeeded at this. You know, what achievements make you feel the most proud? You know, build yourself up with messages such as, I believe in myself. You know, I'm smart, I'm strong, I'm talented, I can do this. You know, I'm strong enough to kick this habit. See, in repetition, you know, need to be repetitive about it. Repetition is what it takes to create a good new habit. Now, that's really all that it takes as well, but that certainly is what it takes, is repetition. Create a good new habit, you know, like we've already mentioned. You know, rather than vaping, you know, find a new good wholesome habit. Repeating new behaviors, you know, creates new beliefs, and that leads to new feelings, which trigger new actions. You know, one of the best ways to anchor your new beliefs is to say them aloud. You know, speaking them and hearing them trains that voice in your head in two ways simultaneously. You know, to be more kindly and supportive, you know, to yourself. It also helps to do it in the mirror. That might feel kind of silly or whatever, but you don't have to believe what you're saying when you do it. At first, you may not believe that, but, you know, you say it over and over. You know, it's not going to be, not going to be that long, and you're really going to start believing it. You know, like, try some of these here. This would be just a few suggestions here. I can beat this craving. Breathing well makes me feel good. Honesty is the key to my progress. I have a loving team that wants me to succeed. See, in order to reach a goal, you first need to believe that you can achieve it. And you have the power. You know, we have the power. You know, that might be kind of hard, but, you know, just like we have the power to quit vaping, you know, we've got the power to replace that bitter critic in us. You have the power to choose the tone and content of your self-messaging and make sure that it feeds you a steady stream of encouragement and positive energy whenever you need it. And so, that's really all that we have today with monitoring our message that I have to say, but that's going to be a lot on you, the participants, to do this. And we'll look at that assignment in just a moment. First, though, we're going to do our teen talk to our parents. And today we're looking at self-talk. Adolescents can certainly be their own biggest critics because they hear a lot of negative commentary every day, in public schools. That's what most public schools especially are filled with. I went to a public school. That was about around 20 years ago, but, I did go to one, and I can certainly attest to that, as probably all of us can. There's a lot of negative commentary every day there, but sometimes the worst thoughts, come from inside their own heads. And here's what you can do to help your kid think positively and be a better judge of his or her self-worth. First, let them brag. A lot of parents, they might have a big tendency to, kind of knock their kids about bragging, but let them brag. And instead of bringing up that D or like an F that they made on a test, or, maybe that they overslept again, ask questions that lead them to praise their accomplishments. Did you help anybody today? What did you do really well today? What made you feel proud today? What was the best compliment you received today? These questions prompt their developing brains to focus on positives rather than negatives. And then, when they hear that you're encouraging them as well, which they also need, which kind of to say to that as well, I kind of meant to say that in our previously in the lecture we did there, but, you as adults, you might have some critics as well, at work or college or in the community or whatever. Try to also surround yourself with encouraging people. And bragging, like that's beneficial because it slowly builds a good sense of self-worth and self-esteem. Remember to focus on accomplishments rather than, innate characteristics which are harder to control or change. And also emphasize the small stuff. Tell them when you're proud of them. Put that last report card in the refrigerator that they did really well in. Praise how well they're doing in sports, in school, or, in the community, what they're doing around the house. And also encourage realistic goals. Setting and reaching big goals is really good, like graduating from high school, getting into college. That helps teen brains develop properly, but those goals, though, can feel overwhelming. Help them set small or intermediate goals, such as, going one day without vaping. That's also good, for adults trying to quit vaping. Compliment, that paper, that report that they did in school, or some exercise that they're doing, if they were able to jog a mile without stopping, or, anything of that nature. Whenever they reach those goals, celebrate them. Help them celebrate those goals. And, same with our adults, celebrate your goals as well. Have your friends celebrate them with you. Okay? And oh yeah. And so now, before we close, let's look at our assignments. Of course, we've got the same things that we've been doing here. Do the visualization exercises and practice H2M. And then also there in our quick kit, that's going to be page 176 for those that have the textbook. And of course, that's day 12, monitor your messaging, and looking at internal dialogue. So as always, if you don't have the textbook, be ready to write this down. So just your question, is your self-messaging positive or negative? And then maybe try to list around 5 thoughts that you have most often about yourself. Are any of them positive? And then if so, circle the ones that are positive, or circle them, underline the ones that are positive. And then look at the negatives. Then rewrite each one of those negative statements as a positive statement. And draw a line through the negative thought. So, and that's the assignment there. Like I said, write down about 5 thoughts you have about yourself. Circle the ones that are positive. Then, line out the ones that's negative and rewrite that negative comment. into something positive, such as, like if that's about vaping, maybe that negative thought was, I'll never be able to stop vaping. You know, maybe that can become, with practice and encouragement, I will quit vaping. And so that's all that we have for today, and tomorrow on day 13 of our quit, we'll be looking at recognize your progress. Recognize your progress, and we'll see you then. Until that, every kind of shadows flee away. I'm Dr. Cooper, and I love you, and I appreciate you.